So it is installing the site server now. In fact, while we are running the installer here, we can run the same installer on the server in the DMZ. So now I'm connected to the server in the DMZ. As you can see, we have one Spider component called RTK server. So basically, once again, we need to run the same installer also on the other server. Before we do that, just in this Spider server control, you can see the version which is installed. So you can see that the current version of RTK server is 7.7.2. So I press next. Once again, the installer will automatically detect which software component should be installed. So RTK proxy and the GUI. Press next. Accept the terms of license agreement. Press next and install. So right now we are installing Spider components on both servers, on the server in the intranet and the server in the DMZ. So I will now have a look at the server, still installing the site server here. Okay, it's taking long. And on server in the DMZ, the installer is also running. So it says installing Spider RTK proxy server. Spider tools. It also updates the license server. And then after the installation is complete, we will finish and launch the configurator. So the configurator allows you to change some parameters. For example, the folder where the Spider files created during the system operational times will be written, or the password to connect to this network server database. Unless you want to make any changes, then you just press apply. So we keep the same settings as before. And then basically the configuration is completed and the update of this component is basically finished. I can press close. And if I open this server control, you can see the version of the Spider RTK component changed from 7.7.2 to 7.8.0. So you know that this upgrade was successfully completed. Here, I'm now on the backend server, so on the intranet. You can see that it is installing now the Spider cluster server. So obviously, since we have much more basically components running on this server, and the installation takes longer, but we are reaching the end as well. Right, so the installation is completed. Once again, we need to finish and launch the configurator. So the same configurator as we saw on this front-end server is also shown here. Once again, you can change the data path when the files created during the software runtime will be created. Then the existing site server password. So this is this famous site password. This is for the network server. Once again, you can change it in this part. And this is the basically host name of the RTK proxy. Once again, there are no changes made. We just press apply. And after I apply the changes, I will start the GUI, so the Spider client, so that I can see immediately the status of the software operation after update. So as you can see, uh, after the installation of the new version, software will also create backup of databases, but these backups will be already for the higher version of the software. This is why it is important to make the upgrade of the databases before, because those databases are related to the previous version of the software. This version or this backup of the databases would not work with the previous version. So this is why if you would need to revert back to the previous version, these databases would not be usable. So this is why you have to make a backup before the update. So the site server database backup has been created. Now it is creating the coordinate system backup database, and now it is starting the Spider services. So as I said, during the operations, during the update, all the services are stopped. And after the update, the software should automatically start the services. So right after this is finished, the system should be back to operation, like it is successfully configured. Then I press close, and since I take this version to start the client, then normally Spider client should start up. So this is something that you already know. If you go to local site server, you can see all stations are started, and status is receiving data. So we are back to where we were. If I show the history, we see the information about the licenses. We have a warning that the license, the CCP package will expire soon. And here, normally, if I select the last, let's say 30 minutes, then you will see this interruption of services. So this is, which is linked to our software update. So, but everything is back to operations. All file products are activated. So the Spider normally continues working after update as before. If we open the network server once again, we will see that the real-time products are activated, and we see some messages, obviously. So after the services were started, then the connections to other components have been performed. So you can also see this related status information that the software components were connected. And if we see once again the status of the server, so you can see all has been updated to version 7.8.0. So as you can see, this update is very quick and normally quite without any issues, usually. Good. So we have only updated one software component, GNSS Spider. So now we need to update SBC, XCOS, and Spider QC. So once again, I will go back to this package, and I would just go with SBC. The problem is that this is SBC version 7.8.0, and in the meantime, we have released a service pack. So it's called SBC version 7.8.1. It means that I have downloaded already this version, and normally this is not part of the package, so you'll get this one exe file, which normally need to extract to a directory. So if you run this self-extracting exe file, it will basically offer you an option to unpack somewhere. So I have unpacked to this folder here, and we have SBC version 7.8.1. So we will do the same as before. We will just run the installer. Coffee is here. And once again, in the same procedure, you need to know which components are installed on which server. So in this case, we have SBC Central Server here, version 7.7.1. Then I will just install that component which needs to be installed here. It is this SBC Central Server. Once again, the installer detects this automatically. You just continue, press next, and we will use the same directory and use existing SBC proxy server configuration. So since you don't make any changes to the the design, to the layout of components, you just press next and install. At the same time, we go to the server in the DMZ, front-end server. Here we have Spider Business Center component called proxy server. Then once again, we will start the installer and install only that component, which should be called SBC proxy server. Press next. Accept the terms of licensing. We are going to keep the same folders. So for this inet part, and press install. So once again, you must not forget to bring all components on both servers to the same version. So once again, this is the front-end server. This is the back-end server. Both installers are running. And once again, after the successful installation, the installer will start services. So in this case here, on the front-end server, the installation takes longer because the installer will also reconfigure completely the IIS. And once again, we have coffee just for one person. You can take it. No, no. But actually, we have no cups. Cups are coming. Okay. So you see this installation complete. You press finish. You check the version. You see version of Business Center 7.8.1. Correct. Once again, we have the same message on the front and back end server. Spider Business Center version 7.8.1. So successfully connected. If you want to see, not really yet. So the last component to update is this Expo server, which runs as a service. Then once again, Expos, we have a service pack. Where is it? Expos. I forgot to download it. Have I? No, it's here. Expos 7.8.1. I don't know, but I downloaded it, but I deleted this Excel file. Anyhow, this is the installer, which I already unzipped or uncompressed, run as administrator. Once again, you just press next, accept the terms of license agreement, next. The same parameters, the same configuration we keep also for Expos, and then it's not even for one, in fact. Anybody else? No? So I will have the baby portion. No, no, thank you. I don't need to. I just. There is another. No, there was coffee just for one person. I'm sorry. But maybe you can ask them to bring more coffee. I mean, it's. Yes, I don't understand what is the problem. So, installation of Expo server successfully completed. Finish. If we have a look at this version, so all components have been updated. So the last component which doesn't run as a service is this Spider QC. So we can directly install it from the 7.8 package. So here we have Spider QC, and if you run it, then once again it will update the current version. Actually, it will even tell you that the installation will upgrade like a Spider QC. So this is the same version which you already have. On the server, we had an older version. And so you can see Spider version 7.8. So all components here have been updated. And so I will also update Spider QC on the backend server. Next. In fact, now if you try to connect using your Spider client to the server, you will see some message. So you can try while you are having coffee or tea. Yes, Spider. If you try to connect, yes.
He's giving a message that
You have already tried, right?
you can use the right mouse.
That's the message. I was expecting a different message.
All right. Genesis version.
Yeah. Exactly. New version available. Yes. So this is the thing. If you are going to upgrade, you also need to update all the clients. So that's why I want you to download Spider. So you also need to update your client on your laptops to be able to connect.
So I should say yes.
You just no, you press no because you already have the installer. You don't want to go. So you need to close the client and the installer which I gave you, which I distributed. So you can run it. Yes, you close the client, and you update your client using the installer which I gave you on the USB stick. Yeah, you close Spider.
Just run it.
Yeah, it will do the same what you saw before. It will just update your client. So it remembers it's only the GUI that you need to install. Don't install anything else. Just press next. Because you are just updating client on the laptop. You don't need that. Yeah, don't need the yes. Double click or as administrator.
No, vamos
You should be understand. You should see this configuration. If you just finish here, installation failed. Maybe you need to run it as administrator. I'm not sure. It depends on how your. Successfully completed. So you still need to run the configurator. So you press finish and launch. Yeah. So once again, it will show you this configurator. There is nothing much to configure for the client. Only this data path where the files will be stored. So you just press apply, and you can activate this. Starts by the later. Press OK. Then you should be able. You should will see the client application, and once again, you should be able to connect after this. So finish and launch. Yes, finish and launch configuration. Yes. Good. You just select start by the V after closing the configuration tool, and you apply the settings.
Should you close the?
Okay, press OK. This is successfully configured.
Then of course.
And try to connect. Normally, you should be able to connect.
Should I close this one?
Yes. And it will automatically open the client. No, you don't need to tick. Because that you need to go back. You decided to decide the article from the server. This is not correct. So if you need to close and run the installer again. Because normally you will install only the GUI. Okay. You will need to remove all the stored features. Because you have installed APK proxy.
So I'm supposed to install GUI.
Yes, GUI only. Okay, then you see your version is 7.8.0. You can see the version in the upper right corner. Just close. And if you try to, now you're already connected. So it remembers the last setting. So it directly connects to you. So now, this is, remember, this is part of the upgrade. That you need to also update the remote client. All right. So this is more or less the whole procedure. As you can see, it's quite fast. The longest part is the download of the installers. So I think it took me something like more than 1 hour to download all installers, even to the server. So the server has faster connection then. So, but otherwise it's quite fast. Yes. So the last thing which I wanted to show is this upgrade of the receivers. So as I said, this can be done remotely, and I recommend to you, because there are two ways how you can do it. You can do it actually from Spider. So if you go to the site server, sorry, this is the. So you can simply go to a site, and there is this firmware upgrade. I would need to stop a site, so I will stop one site. I'm not sharing my screen. How come? Because it's. But why it stopped? Because I started sharing my screen in the beginning. I haven't saw it. Because I have it running. It's not even minimized. I have it running on the second, on my second screen, and it doesn't matter. So two options, either from Spider, but then you need to stop a site. So I will stop Chimani Mani for the moment, and then you can right click and select firmware upgrade, and then basically select the firmware upgrade file, which would be in this GNSS. Where is it? Install. Where is this file? Oh, here. So one option is to select Spider, but in this case it will take much longer, and as you see, the site needs to be stopped, which means that the operations are also stopped. So this is some kind of older, or I would say, different way how you can update. But you can do this from Spider. But what I said, I do not recommend really this because the downtime of the site will be much longer. So what I recommend is actually to use the FTP server of the receiver. So the receiver, except for the web server, they also have the FTP server. So you can connect to the receivers via FTP. In this total commander, you can define your FTP location. So for example, Zinxa HQ. It's not 10.0.0.6 anymore. Okay. Is it still? The port 21 is closed then. Because edit. That's strange. Because I cannot connect via FTP from the server. Okay, I will try the other one. I will try Lupane. So I was able to connect to Lupane. So from the server, I cannot connect to the Zinxa on over FTP or the port 21. So it's blocked. But all the other VPN sites, obviously, since I can connect to Lupane, then it's possible. So I'm on the SD card of the receiver of Lupane, and here we have directory called transfer and firmware. So you cannot make a mistake. And then you can directly upload this firmware file to the SD card of the receiver. So thanks to your network, it's very fast. So the file of the size of the file is about 45 megabytes when it is zipped. It is about 80 megabytes when it is unzipped. So this is also a difference because Spider can only upload the firmware file when it is unzipped. So actually the size of the file will be twice as bigger, more or less. 6 minutes. Uh-huh.
But it just goes to.
It remembers your last setup.
It's just yeah.
No.
Here you have this is the problem with your PC because this growth is very small. That's okay. If you close that one, you go back here, then you can okay to the other option.
These are the two different connections. I thought it was. Yeah. So during this time when the firmware file is actually being uploaded, the site is in operation. So it is streaming data. So the operations are not stopped. So this is the main advantage. And then the operations will only be stopped during the firmware upgrade itself. All right. So the upload of the firmware file to the SD card of the receiver has been completed successfully. Always check the size of the file. So it is, yes, it is the same, which means that the file was successfully uploaded. We can disconnect from the FTP server. And now we can open the web interface of the receiver. So Lupane, open web interface. So this is the web interface, which basically can be used for all the configuration of the receiver. So we'll talk about it more in detail during the next training session. The important thing is that after you log in, from the main menu, it's like receiver setup and tools. And here we have firmware upgrade. And you can see the receiver can automatically read the content of the upgrade version 4.61. It is on SD card. And this is basically the button that you need to press to install the firmware. So if I press this one, yes, the receiver needs to have sufficient power. So we can just hope that there will be no power failure during this time, but the receiver has internal battery. So anyhow, even if there is a power cut, the receiver, actually it doesn't have them. You didn't purchase them. Yes, yes. But you have the backup batteries, you're right. Yeah, backup batteries, not internal, but backup. No more, at least 48 hours. This is just a huge amount of power. So normally the firmware update is installed now. This upgrade can take maybe 2-3 minutes. And after the upgrade, the receiver will basically basically reboot, and normally all operations will start automatically. So once again, there should be no problem to upgrade these receivers remotely. So no need to go to the remote side, just do it from the server.
What happens if the SD card is full?
Yes, normally the SD card should not get full, but once again, I will explain during the next training session. We have a tool called Smart Cleanup, which runs on the receivers, and basically this Smart Cleanup always checks the status of the SD card. And if there is a danger that the SD card should get full, it will start deleting files automatically from all the files. But that will explain during this next training session the operations on the receivers. Because right now, actually, we didn't talk about the receiver too much. We just configured the main production task, the logging and streaming. But actually, the receiver can do much more, and this will be the content of the next training
What is the Switzerland? Kutopedzere chigaba chese chekufi. Manje kuva kwedu totorwa tumasaketi tazvitsvika pachiro. What's that? That's nonsense.
But the same guy,
Yeah. Kwani kwanti ala nikirwa ni ndara zojeni. Awekila zojeni moja. Mazoti bese brand so unozi Zimbabwe unokora kumaketero unokora. Atinambodaro pana anonzi inonzi the thing is the thing is family ekukomeresa muyamuzvese but unanenge vachiwa hausi kuona importance havazivi but mari nyika iri bhedha afanire zvoda kunzi umunhu wakavara nemushandisa mari yamutengesera esina mari yachishoma iripo iyo munhu anofanira kuti akanzi izvo chava kwaane enda kuholiday apana takagara Zimbabwe pamwe kudheni kurara kusina magei pangani pakunoita maposi avo
Huh? Yeah, it's taking quite some time, but if we go back here, go to raw data status, we actually see, you see it says connecting. If it says connecting, it means the receiver is already rebooting. If it is in no response, this is usually when the upgrade is, so normally I would expect it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes now. It should appear anytime soon. So if you remember all the configuration, all the settings, the receiver, even the IP address, everything. So normally. Somebody would need to have a look at the university at the receiver, but I don't expect this to happen. There's as in the receiver, normally, yeah, it can take a bit, I don't know, longer. Okay, the receiver is already back, you see. So you see it's 461, you can see the firmware here. And so it has just restarted, so in a while it will start tracking. So also in Spider we see, actually it's receiving data. So now it's receiving data, it's tracking, so done. So this is how the firmware can be upgraded. So normally you should update all the remaining receivers. Huh? Not now. Well, you can do it now, but without me because I have to leave. I have to go now. I'm sorry, because I need to catch my flight. So, is it more or less clear when it comes to these upgrades? I think it's quite straightforward. And if you have any questions, then you can always obviously send an email. Yeah, you can contact me. And yeah, that would be all.